21st Century Archmage. Author, Kim Gwang-soo. Chapter 36, Russell's Secret. Translator, Lei. Have they never seen a human before? Look till your eyes fall out, why don'tcha? Rumors had already spread throughout the covert, as evidenced by how people would whisper amongst themselves or evade as soon as they caught sight of me. It wasn't even as if I had an infectious disease, but a silent quarantine was inflicted on me. I inwardly cursed the people avoiding me as I briskly walked back to Babetto's hangar with the appointment letter in hand. Bam! Act! Hoo-hoo! To fool around without a speck of fear. It seems you've gone crazy because you want to die. Oh, what are they doing? In front of Babetto's remote hangar, two of the soldiers in charge of distributing wyvern food like pigs and sheep were kicking someone. These bastards, crawling on the ground with agony, most likely from getting hit in the stomach, was Derval. You think that fearless cadet knight will be able to help you? Hoo-hoo-hoo. How dare you give orders from someone who will soon be sent to hell by His Highness the Crown Prince? TCH. Step on him. Just looking at him pisses me off. They sure were going at it. Bam bam. Clenching my teeth, I soundlessly approached the completely unaware guys who were excitedly beating up Derval. Are you having fun? Who is it? These two had been so busy kicking Derval that they hadn't noticed that their time for retribution was approaching. They jumped in surprise at my cold voice. The two soldiers furrowed their brows at the sight of me. What's wrong? Keep going. Despite suffering quite a grievance, Derval was clenching his teeth and enduring it. And no, they began to stammer out an excuse. Derval, what's going on? I asked them to give me a pig for Babetto to eat, Derval said as he wiped the blood on his mouth with his sleeves. He glared at the two soldiers with blazing eyes. Is that so? But why are you getting hit? Where's the pig? I experienced for myself how it felt to grow cold with anger. My emotions dropped to icy frigidity. Within me simmered a rage that was like a cold block of ice on the North Pole. Until now, the cursed wyvern has eaten leftover scraps. But this guy fearlessly asked to give us a pig, so babbled the soldier with a big mouth as an excuse. That's why you beat him. Sensing something from my enraged query, the two lowered their heads. What about those pigs over there? Those are the ones that are left over from today's distribution. Is that so? Then can I have one? And no, that is, you cannot. Why not? Is it because I'm not a formal Sky Knight? Or because Babetto is a cursed wyvern? I said with a smile of rage. In any case, you cannot have them. Those guys are for other wyverns in the evening. Pow! Gah! I pummeled a fist like steel into the belly of the guy who refused me. G-U-H-ha-ha! Having received a head-on blow, the soldier gasped, unable to catch his breath. His face turned white, and he looked on the verge of passing out. Then I pulled out the butchering sword attached to the carriage, and a moment later, a thud sounded. Cut by a light swing of the sword, the horse hitched to the carriage fell to the ground, blood flowing from its body. If you fail to bring the freshest meat from tomorrow onwards, then next time, blood dripped from the sword as I pointed it at the face of the pale soldier. You'll become the wyvern's meal. You understood. We will bring the freshest meat. Gulp. With the bloody sword just inches before their eyes, the men nodded. I did feel sorry for the horse that died, but I had no choice but to give a bloody warning. Get up, take this fresh horse meat to Babetto. As you command. After getting satisfying revenge, Derval responded energetically and got up. Leave that pig behind. As you command. Like Derval, the soldiers responded with a military salute. They're really asking for it. With this incident, no one would dare to be rude to Derval or Babetto in the future. No matter how fearless you were, nothing was more important than your life. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Crunch, crunch. He sure is enjoying himself. Thanks to me, Babetto got to eat horse meat. He didn't leave a single bone behind and crunch down the horse. Crackle, crockle. Tastes great. It's a bit of a shame that there's no alcohol. At my order, the soldiers even did a clean job of slaughtering the pig before leaving. As they left, their heads almost reached the ground in a 90-degree bow. Then they left, struggling to drag the carriage filled with livestock in place of the horse. Afterwards, a small noble promotion party kicked off in the hangar. We had a pig roast barbecue party with sticks that were lying around. Kyrnim, is there anything else His Excellency the Marquis said? As pig fat dripped and crackled on the fire, Derval carefully asked me a question. He assigned me a personal flight instructor, saying it was his final act of consideration. I see. Derval nodded. It seems we will have until the end of spring at the most, he said, as if he knew something. Normally, once you become a Sky Knight, it takes at least 6 months of time to acquire various offensive techniques and flight formations. But I believe that you will only have until the end of spring. I'll probably get transferred somewhere else, right? That is most likely the case. All of the high nobles wouldn't be happy if a cursed wyvern were to be formally deployed in Kerf Covert, which can be called the honor of the empire itself. That's because they themselves will train or be stationed here. Moreover, you have stepped on the wrong side of His Highness the Crown Prince's foot. You shitheads just wait. I'll squash your arrogant pride. Babetto wasn't even some kind of demon beast, but these guys treated him no better than a beggar. I was determined to stamp their arrogant pride flat into the ground. The problem is, they probably won't send us off quietly. They will most likely send us to the front line or the border. And we will have to pass dozens of territories at the very least just to get there. That's the real problem, Derval mused worriedly. He's really worth having. This guy was too smart to just clean up wyvern poop and wait on others. Just believe in me. I'll take care of things. Yes, I understand. Well, what's with this baseless confidence? I just said something offhandedly, but Derval nodded while shooting a fervent look of respect and belief towards me. I started to have the feeling that he was looking at me like I was a god. Wow. What's the smell? This voice is... As the fragrant smell of roast pig spread through the hangar and I was distracted by all the complicated matters, I heard a familiar voice. The side door of the hangar opened with a creak. Pahaha, Baronet Kyer, you were even holding a self-congratulation party here. 2 people opened the door and came inside. Rodolo and Countess Irene. Surprisingly, the 2 Sky Knights had seeked out Babetto's hangar, and they were even holding what looked like bottles of alcohol in both hands. Congratulations, Baronet Kyer. Knowing I had become a baronet, Countess Irene gave me an incredibly stiff word of congratulations. Impressive. Impressive. I knew you were really something when I saw you for the first time, but to make off with a wyvern within a few months of being a cadet, and it's even a hybrid wyvern everyone shuns. Go. See, calm down. I wasn't trying to insult you. As Rodolo pointed at Babetto, the wyvern growled. The Sky Knight shook his hand and calmed Babetto down. Here, take it. Suddenly, Irene pushed the bottle in her hand towards me. Seeing the bottle, Derval made a look of understanding. Please take it, then pour it onto both of Babetto's wings, he said. What? I blurted. I couldn't wrap my head around why I should pour precious alcohol on Babetto's wings. It is an initiation related to the god of the skies, the overseer of wind and freedom, Bormio. So there's a tradition for good luck here as well. A while back, my dad had also held a good luck ritual after buying new car. It seemed that the Callian continent had similar customs to Earth. Hurry up and do it. The pig is all roasted and ready, said Rodolo as he rubbed his hands and licked his lips in anticipation. Pop! With the help of Mana, I pulled out the cork. The intoxicating smell of grape wine filled my nose. Please carry out the devotion with a sincere heart to God, advised Rodolo. Borneo? Or wait, Lord Bormio. I beseech you for your help in ensuring that birds with poor vision do not crash into us while flying, and in snow or rain, I will simply believe in only you, Lord Bormio. The only thing I wish for is safe driving for 365 days of the year, and if I ask for a bit more, then I kindly request that you send your blessings in order for me to find a beautiful maiden for a wife, so I can become a man. If all goes well later, I'll treat you big time. As I poured the wine onto Babetto's wings, I prayed with my utmost sincerity, if you could call it that. Go. As the wine flowed onto his wings, Babetto was startled. You put your size to shame, dude. Uncontrollable laughter bubbled up at me upon seeing Babetto's cowardice, which didn't suit his huge size at all. All right, then let's celebrate Sir Kyer's promotion to nobility and becoming a Sky Knight for real now. Shall we? Countess, please sit. Rodolo was all excited. Like a free-spirited wind summoner, he set the mood up. Now, what a weirdo. I had felt utterly drawn to Sir Rodolo from the very first moment we met. He gave off a feeling of cynicism, but when he smiled, he looked like a good-natured older brother from neighborhood. Congratulations, Sir Kyer, for joining the world of the wind. A slight smile danced on Countess Irene's lips. You're the best, Nuna. The blue eyes of a beauty with transparent, silver hair that looked like it could be in a hair commercial met mine. She held a bottle of wine towards me. Please take care of me in the future. All right, let's do our best together. We'll conquer the skies between the 3 of us. I bowed my head towards the two people who had come to warmly congratulate me. Drink. Tonight, we eat till we drop. Radalo had already shoved a bottle of wine into his lips and was grasping a well-roasted, smoky piece of meat. Gulp. Delicious. The wine went down with a sweet aroma. It was a shame it wasn't a refreshing beer or soju that hit the spot, but I couldn't be picky. I was just happy that I was with a goddess who was holding on her hair with one hand and taking adorable sips of her wine. Cuckoo. The blessings of the heavens are upon me. And as always, my skill of self-flattering kicked in. This was how life was meant to be lived. Era, what is this guy doing? I had become a quasi-noble, but I hadn't received my own room like the other Sky Knights. So after the little party, I returned to my room and found Russell packing a leather bag with trembling hands. Russell, where are you going? I'm leaving. Leaving? Where to? Russell started spitting out limp and defeated words. Tomorrow is the last test, but I have no confidence. The confidence to fly in the sky, replied Russell powerlessly. Limp defeat hung on him like an aurora. You stupid fool. Russell stopped packing and clenched his fists, trembling. Well, watch what you say, he gritted. Got it. Idiot, loghead, big buffoon. You. Russell came running at me with his girly fists balled up. Russell's fist bumped strongly on my chest. It hurt a bit, but I could endure it. I guess even an idiot has the courage to hit someone. Stop. What do you think you know? Whether I give up or not, it's my life. Don't butt in. Don't mess with me. Russell screamed as he pummeled me with his fists. At some point, he started crying like a girl again. I grabbed Russell's slender hand. Didn't you say you would sell your soul to the devil? But you can't even overcome something like this, and you think the devil will be crazy enough to buy your soul? Would you be so desperate as to need the soul of a weak human? I shouted loud enough to shake Russell's soul. Sob. Then what should I do? I'm scared. I'm scared of the sky. Then how will you get your revenge? Were you going to wait until they died of old age? Is that the gruesome revenge you meant? Russell bit his lips. Follow me. I pulled Russell's slender wrist along. Let go. Slap. I slapped the resisting Russell on the cheek. Don't wail like a little girl. If you're a man, you should struggle and struggle until you die. Seriously, this is fate as well. If it was anyone else, I would have just said, all right, do as you want, but for some reason, I couldn't help but care about Russell. It seemed I'd grown fond of him after living together in the same room for a few months. I dragged Russell and left the dorm room. What you looking at? Oi. I glared at the cadets poking their heads out of their rooms, wondering what all the noise was about. Knowing my vicious temper, the cadets closed their doors in alarm. Shit, I'm getting real pissed off today. I didn't know when I would leave. Before that, there was something I could do for Russell. I wanted to help him be able to drink in the clear, cold air of the sky to his heart's content. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Two-seater saddle. As you command. I had dragged Russell all the way to Babetto's hangar. His captured wrist was bruising black and blue. Go. Waking up from his sleep, Babetto blinked his golden eyes and looked at Russell and me. Babetto, let's go for a flight. Gru. This guy understood human words. Reading the severe atmosphere, he gave a slight nod. I'll install it. I apologize. It was too much for the one-armed Derval to put on the saddle. I guess he's lodging here. A worn-out sleeping bag was laying on one side of the hangar. It seemed Derval was sleeping with Babetto. I took the saddle from him, then skillfully loaded it on Babetto. As I put on the saddle, Derval struggled to open the hangar door with one hand, the huge door creaking as it moved. I was pleased with this intelligent and sharp-sighted guy's actions. Get on. W.I.? Asked Russell. He had been staring fearfully at Babetto, who was bigger than other wyverns. Can't you see? Ah! I grabbed Russell by the collar and jumped onto Babetto's back. Lock yourself in if you don't want to become a broken egg after falling from the sky, I said, putting him behind me. I buckled myself to the safety ring. Babetto. Go. Because we'd held a congratulations party, it was deep into the night. Babetto didn't think it troublesome and let out a powerful cry as he moved his wings. The ground thudded as he excitedly ran towards the open door. Please have a good flight. Derval bowed as he saw us off. Erg. Russell made a sound of fear. Fly. On this moonless night, I yelled into the sky, sparkling with countless flickering stars as Babetto noisily flapped his wings. Then the great wyvern kicked off of the ground. As soon as we hit the air, I felt a strange flinching sensation behind me. A moment later, Russell seized my back and grabbed on. Babetto, fly as high as you can go. Go. On this late night, No one else was flying. Wind crashed into Babetto's wings. Then, within moments, Babetto began to climb into the cloudless sky, the wind whistling all around us. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Huh. I felt like I was going to get addicted to nighttime flying. Because I had left my helmet behind, I could feel the full brunt of the cold, clear air. This was a place absolutely clear and free of the world's filth. The stars that had whispered amongst themselves for countless centuries came into my embrace. Russell was clutching me almost hard enough to crush the air plate. I felt the full force of the trembling of his body from fear. Babetto, fly slowly. Go. At my command, Babetto responded with a good-tempered cry. We even out at an altitude where clouds were grazing past our heads. Look, open your eyes and look. And no, Russell shook his head in refusal. I unclasped my safety ring with a click. W, what are you doing? Then I turned and undid Russell's safety clasp. Only then did Russell open his eyes wide and cry out with surprise. Can't you see? If you fall, then... I traced a line at my neck, all while wearing a vicious smile. Oh, let me down. Let me down to the ground. Go ahead and do it if you can. You bad person. What's with his voice? Russell's neutral voice suddenly changed to a thin, high tone that only a woman could produce. Wow. He had short hair, but it was swept by the wind, revealing Russell's white face and ears. Gentle gray eyes that were big for a guy. Thick red lips that were being bitten down on. A straight nose and long eyelashes that were trembling. He was so charming that I almost forgot the current situation. On top of that, tears were flowing from his eyes without end. Why does my chest hurt whenever I see those tears? If some other guy was crying, I would just badmouth them for being a crybaby despite being a man, but Russell's tears made my heart sting. Sobi. I said I'm scared. This sky where my father passed away. I'm scared of it. His voice was more shocking than his confession of fear. A girl. His lips white with utter fear, held on to me, weeping as I turned and looked at him. Shock crashed into me like a giant wave, making my head ring. The thought that the person I had shared a room with this whole time might be a woman of the other sex made my mind go blank. So that's why Russell. Russell had particularly disliked skinship. She had never shown me her naked body. Let me down. I have no right to become a Sky Knight. Not knowing her true identity had been revealed, Russell trembled in my embrace as she asked me to let me down with her womanly voice. In that moment, my lips curved into an evil smile. You wanted to completely deceive me? Hoo. Russell, I said quietly to the boy no girl. Instead of responding, she just gripped my waist harder and shook like a leaf. We're going to fly now, with our own strength. I hugged the girl in my arms with all my might. What are you doing? She cried, opening her eyes wide with surprise. Holding onto her tightly, I rose from the saddle. See, you can open your eyes. It seemed she couldn't feel the fear of flying like usual. Taking advantage of the moment, I flung myself into the air like Empress Chung sacrificing herself, dragging Russell along with me. Empress Chung is about a girl in a 2005 animated film who sacrificed herself to restore her blind father's vision. Russell screamed herself hoarse. The sharp sound of wind buffeted us as we fell from the sky towards the dark ground. Open your eyes and look closely. I pushed my face into Russell's. She was squeezing her eyes shut while holding on to me for dear life. Try selling your soul to me. I'll help you with your revenge. Hurry up and answer. We were free-falling without a parachute, accelerating with the momentum and approaching the ground with ever greater speed. But I couldn't just back off like this. Fear had to be overcome with fear. I wanted to present her with the ultimate fear so great that riding a wyvern couldn't even compare. Those words, are they true? Russell asked me whether I was being serious with a calm look in her eyes. I couldn't hear her well because of the sound of the wind around us, but Russell had shed her fear and definitely just asked me that. I nodded. MF. The next moment, a set of cold and smooth lips blocked my lips. This isn't it. Her lips were on a different level from mere kiss. A shock crashed into me, making my mind go completely blank. From her lips, I could feel Russell's hot emotion. But then I realized something. Right now, we weren't on some sunny field or a cozy bed, but falling in the middle of the air. Russell, we'll die like this. I had magic memorized and at the ready, but I could only cast it by speaking the incantation. But currently, Russell had believed me for whatever reason, and was giving me a deep kiss in midair. She had already stolen my pure heart, but now she was going to take away my life as well. I quickly pulled away, then shouted, "A levitation!" The mana I had prepared for the incantation converted itself into the light of magic. However, we continued to fall. We were two people, not one, so the strength of a single cast could not deal with our incredible speed. Levitation! Despite my surprise, I completed a double cast. Yuwa! As soon as I turned my head, I was greeted by the sight of a huge, dusky forest. After casting 2 rounds of levitation, our speed finally leveled off. As mana flowed vigorously into the spells, our speed of descent fell by a good deal. "My magic?" stammered Russell. Just like how I hadn't figured out that she was a girl, it seemed Russell hadn't even imagined that I was a mage. Our feet touched down on a grassy clearing free of trees. As soon as her feet touched land, Russell let out a low moan, as if waking from a dream. Go, having flown down to look for us, Bebeto confirmed that we were still alive and flew in a circle around our heads. The night wind blew gently around us with a whoosh, lovingly teasing up Russell's short hair. The sight of her damp lips made my heart heat up. Chapter 37. A Fine Day for Farewell. Translator, Lay. She's doing well. The third and last flight test was well underway. Unlike the others, Russell alone was confidently sitting in the back seat and flying in the sky. But isn't that dude in front of her a guy? Thanks to yesterday's special training, Russell had overcome her fear. She was now flying on a wyvern whose master was a male Sky Knight. Jealousy suddenly crept up inside me. I should ask Countess Irene for help. Danger, danger. Russell had given me my very first true kiss, not just a peck on the cheek. From now on, she was a woman I had to protect. Kyrnim, how did you do it? It's almost impossible to cure fear of heights, Derval asked in astonishment as he watched Russell with me, in front of Bebeto's hangar. Ho-ho, when there's a will, there's a way. As expected, you're impressive, Kyrnim. To cure fear of heights in a single night. Derval was shooting looks of admiration towards me today as well. Derval, I'm going to the capital for a bit. Understood. Please do not worry about Bebeto, and have a good trip. Rumors of yesterday's bloody event must have spread, because the crewmates and soldiers looked down as soon as they saw me. Because of that, there was no one left in the covert who would mess with Bebeto. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Just let me catch you. I'll send you all to death. I couldn't just sit around getting hit like an idiot. Using a prevention is better than the cure attitude. I had to prepare the maximum defense. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. The one who displeased His Highness the Crown Prince is called Kyr. Yes, Your Excellency. They say the cadet has become the hybrid wyvern Sky Knight. Oh, is that so? A mere cadet has become the master of a difficult-to-handle hybrid wyvern. 2 men were speaking within one of the huge mansions within the Bajran Empire's capital. This one belonged to the Fazine Duke household, which was called one of the 4 pillars of the empire. Duke Ormura Fazine, a man in his late 40s, had his interest piqued by the report in his hand. It was a report covering an event involving the Crown Prince at Kerfone Covert. The report informed him of an unexpected situation. The one named Kyr is the same person who broke young Master Tedran's leg. I know. Ho-ho. I wanted to relay my thanks to the person who gave Tedran a taste of the real world. So this is good. Duke Ormura made a meaningful smile. As a supporter of the Queen, he was the lead representative on the Crown Prince's side. What would you like to do, my lord? Should we send them? Asked Ormura's henchman, Viscount Parquis. No, there's no reason to go so far as to send them to the covert. There are dozens of ways to deal with him, even without using them. Duke Ormura, a man around 180 centimeters tall, 5 feet 9 inches, with a stocky build, possessed sword skills at the level of a master. His lips were smiling, but his eyes were glinting with a cold light. The regular noble meeting is tomorrow, right? Yes, Your Excellency. Every week, there was a meeting of the nobles led by the Emperor. It was an important occasion where the Empire's military, politics, and economy were discussed. Then it's fine. We can send him to that place. Whoa. Duke Ormura smiled, as if a satisfying thought had occurred to him. His blue eyes were full of wickedness. Today, they glimmered even brighter than usual. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. So nice and fresh. Springtime in Bajran's capital city was completely different from wintertime. Flowers were blooming, trees planted along the streets, and all kinds of flowers were blooming beautifully in flower beds, and the fragrance of womenfolk apparently drawn out by the warm weather drifted along on the spring wind. Sure is nice to be a noble. When I passed through the city gate, the soldiers gave military honors after seeing my letter of appointment. Also, the black cloak on my back that represented Sky Knight cadets was more than enough to draw the gazes of people coming and going. I wonder if Jameer is doing well. I thought as I walked the now familiar streets of the capital towards the Rubis Merchant Group building. Aren't you the special guest of the executive manager? The guards who were standing in strict guard in front of the building as usual bowed their heads low as soon as they saw me. As expected for people serving in the merchant group, their sharp-sightedness was impressive. Ahem, it's been a while. Please come inside. After being rude to me that one time, these guards had experienced a stern lesson. They personally opened the door for me and welcomed me in. This is why a person needs to have money and power. There weren't many people who would acknowledge you if you just lived a quiet and kind life. But in front of outstanding power and money, the likes of goodness and virtue didn't even come into consideration. Because everyone made judgments based on their own standards for interpersonal relationships, outside appearances held an important role. Realizing this cold truth of the world, I walked inside with leisurely steps. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Welcome, Kyrnim. Haha, it's been a while, branch manager, I responded. Having met me once, the branch manager in his mid-40s acted familiar with me. I heard the news that you have earned a wyvern recently and risen to the position of baronet. Whoa, the news has traveled so far already. The Rubis Merchant Group's information-gathering capabilities were surprising to the point of being fearsome. It's nothing to be alarmed about. After you turned Kerphone Covert on its head, sir, the merchants providing goods to the covert informed us. Damn, am I that famous now? I was sure it was notoriety that I didn't really want spreading around. Is Executive Manager Jameer doing well? I spoke plainly because nobles didn't use honorifics with commoners. Thanks to your concern, sir, he is doing very well. From how warmly the branch manager greeted me, I could fathom a guess. If Jameer had fallen from his position, the branch manager wouldn't have treated me this cordially. I've come today because I have a request. A request? Haha, please go ahead. No matter what it is, we shall take care of it for you to our utmost. Please take the items written here to a location decided by me. What items, cough? After taking the slip of paper, I passed over. The branch manager was alarmed. Aren't these restricted items, sir? Sure. Why do you think I'm asking you guys to take care of it? Even so, if we were found out. I know. It's not as if the Rubis Merchant Group doesn't have dealings with black merchant groups, right? Black merchant groups, also known as merchants of the darkness. They were merchants dealing mainly in black market items that couldn't be sold in the open like poisons, drugs, or illegal arms. If a knowledgeable Dervil's words were to be believed, every merchant group had connections to black merchants. He said that they would occasionally deal with black merchants when procuring items that couldn't be acquired through normal means. These are all items that Sky Knights need anyway, aren't they? The Rubis merchants won't take any damage at all, so don't worry. It doesn't seem to be a matter I can personally decide, sir. Even if you're on good terms with the executive manager, we could be detected by the Imperial inspectors at the slightest slip. Well, this isn't good. These were items I absolutely needed to survive. From what Erval said, I will be able to get one or two of them at best. All right, then tell me how I can get in contact with a black merchant group. I'll take care of it on my own. That too is, I apologize. Company policy states that military restricted items are hands-off. The branch manager bowed his head. It is fine. Then just withdraw all my money and loan me just 50,000 gold. I will take care of that for you at once, said the branch manager, looking relieved by my meek acquiescence. Well, it's not bad to try meeting some black merchants anyway. Black merchant groups were spread around the continent like cancerous weeds. I heard they were in fierce competition with one another behind the scenes. Today, I decided to go meet an organization of darkness operating in the capital city of the Bajran Empire. Geez, it's just as the movies showed. True to people doing business within the darkness, the black merchant groups occupied the back alleys. These guys operated hand in hand with those moving primarily at night, like the Thief Guild, Bounty Guild, and Information Guild. They were situated in a back alley housing commoners in a part of the capital that could be called underdeveloped. The Brotherhood? Pahaha. Brotherhood my ass, it's a pair of hired swords at best. A small shop was situated in a gloomy side alley shrouded in darkness, even during the day. Engraved on a worn-out wooden sign was a name that really didn't suit the store. I scoffed at the sign and went inside, opening the door with a creak. Gay, heavy smokers. The store was filled to the brim with an acrid smell similar to cigarette smoke. Lit by a few strands of light from a small window, you could call the interior a mold den, and it would be right on the money. Just look at him. Several gazes turned to me. A person wearing a cloak representing Sky Knight cadets. I was sure they must have their guards way up. I nonchalantly approached the table, pulled out a worn-out chair, and sat down. There are a few people who barely know how to use mana. These were people dominating the underground. If they didn't have any skills, they wouldn't be able to seize control of this huge empire's underground. You knew round these parts. What can I get ya? A plain-looking, bald, pot-bellied mister in his early 50s approached me and took my order. A refreshing dark beer. And give me the best in the house, the stuff you usually reserve. Got it. The man showed no fear despite seeing my Sky Knight cadet cloak. He turned. And give me a file moan for the Open Empire. A very well-roasted one at that. This was the secret password of the black merchants that I had gotten from the branch manager. Please wait a moment. That one will take a while to prepare. The man didn't turn around and responded, as if unconcerned. They're completely tense. As soon as my words fell, the shop's atmosphere had become terrifyingly taut. How embarrassing for guys who supposedly earn so much money. Sitting in this old store where spiderwebs were hanging here and there, I waited for the destiny that was to come. Here is the beer you ordered, and our house's specialty smoked sausage, sir. Oh, looks legit. The beer was in a large wooden glass, and a thick lump of sausage was loaded up on a wooden plate. I tried giving the beer a sip. Kaya. The slightly bitter taste of the dark beer produced by burning barley made my throat burn. I followed it up with a bite of the sausage. Oh, right, this is exactly the taste. This was an organic, natural-made sausage on a completely different level from sausages made in the 21st century with all sorts of preservatives and byproducts that weren't good for you. The sausage, filled with the unique fragrance of pork, transported me to a world of flavor that was satisfying to chew and melted slowly on the tongue. It was the best beer and sausage I'd ever tasted. You guys, you could make a living just by selling beer. I silently directed my thoughts to the gazes that were observing me as I ate. Take your pick of the file moan yourself, and don't complain later about having picked a rotten one. The man standing next to me bluntly told me to pick a file moan. He's telling me to follow, right? Let's do that then. I obediently stood. The taste of the refreshing beer could wait. It was now time to take care of business. We opened a door on one side of the store and walked in. Illusion magic? As expected for a black merchant group, there was a spell cast in this room. The man walked in what looked like a brick wall with sure steps. And I stepped forward and followed right behind him. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. What a welcome, I thought as a swish rang out in front of my face. Don't move. Any nonsense, and we'll cut you down immediately. 3 swords had appeared all of a sudden in front of my face. They even cast silence magic on top of the illusion spell. As soon as we walked into the concealed space, a completely different space came into view. We were now in a clean room with a sofa and a table. Within were 3 men who were giving me an enthusiastic welcome. They were skilled people on the level of knights, trained considerably in mana. Your attitude toward a customer is pretty lacking. I will decide whether you are a customer or not. Who the heck? It seemed this person had been sitting there from the very beginning. The black cat Nero. Tien, from Italian children's song, Volevo un gatto nero, which was translated and brought to Korean radio. Her whole body was black. The woman wore a skin-tight black leather outfit. Isn't she what people call a seductress? Her black eyebrows and the corners of her eyes were slightly slanted, and her red lips were as small as a cherry. Along with her provocative looks, her whole body emanated a strange aura. It was enough to make any man gulp. Black hair. On top of that, surprisingly enough, she had pure black hair like my own. I am Baronet Kyer, Sky Knight. I know, Baronet Kyer. Rumors have spread, even here. There are already rumors all over the Empire that you boast a tremendous friendship with His Highness the Crown Prince and quite a few noble heirs. Ho ho, everyone has been curious as to how long you can last. What? She isn't talking about my life, is she? Boy, you jerks. I'm going to live until old age turns me into a walking diaper. Let's cut the useless chatter and get right to business. I'll handle my life with my own hands. Worry about yourselves. For what matter have you come here? It doesn't seem like you came to acquire magic armor for your hybrid wyvern. These guys slithering in the dark really do have fast intel. It seems you're in the loop, so I will be frank. Give me blessed spears, no matter what kind. Blessed spears? Oh my, how naughty. That's an imperially restricted item, but It's no good for a nobleman like yourself to do illegal things. As the enchantress trailed off, her red eyes sparkled. I ignored her words and continued saying what I had to say. 2,000 gold per spear. 3,000, she countered smoothly. What should be 1,000 gold a pop is now 3,000. Very good, you thieves. 2,500. 2,700. Any more bargaining, and you can go back empty-handed, said the black cat firmly. All right, 2,700, 20 spears. I will buy them for 54,000 gold. I didn't want to get into a verbal fistfight with these guys over a few pennies. They already knew the urgency of my situation. Of course, they would want to rip the most money off me as they could. Oh, just like the rumors of you dueling in front of the crown prince implied, you're quite fiery. Then, let us say the trade is completed. You happy? Ho-ho. All right, let's see how long you can be happy. She may be a beautiful chick, but there was no need to be courteous if she thought of me as a sucker. I engraved the fox's face deep within my memory. I threw out an object. This is a gold token registered with the Rubis merchants. Initial payment of 30,000 gold. You'll get the rest when the contract is completed. Thank you, Baronet Kyer. We will efficiently and quickly deliver the desired items. After getting the money, the woman wetted her lips with her red tongue and smiled with satisfaction. What is your name? Ho-ho. I have no such thing as a name. Please call me Black Fox. Black Fox. I'll remember you. Thank you, sir. And as a token of thanks for completing our first deal together, I will let you know a piece of news that recently came in. News? It is information that there are several assassination guilds aiming for your life, Kyrnim. By all means, please take care of yourself. Assassination guild. Ho-ho, tell him to come. I'll crush them all. This was something I anticipated anyway. Then, I'll trust you and be on my way. Black merchants would sell their souls for money. I didn't want to linger around these people who dipped their paws into evil acts, including human trafficking. How can you trust us and entrust such a huge amount of money to us? Smiled the woman as she crossed her slender legs. No matter how big the money, it's not worth your life. I let out a burst of mana. The goons who had been letting their guards down exclaimed in fright at the sharp energy that filled the room. If you mess with me, I will follow you to the ends of hell and strip the hide off your back. A cold smile floated on my face as I stared at Black Fox. However, the woman didn't cower and simply flashed a friendly smile back. I turned and walked towards the wall, enchanted with illusion magic. I dare you to give me defective items. I will follow you to the ends of hell and give you the goosing of your lifetime. 10. A very powerful jutsu, where you put your fingers together and stick them into a place where the sun doesn't shine. Shudder dash. How could I, a person who had never killed before, possibly strip someone's hide off? That was just a line I stole from a movie. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Take it. What is this? Isn't it obvious? A gift. In my outstretched hand was a heart-shaped pendant. It was something I'd specially gone to a jewelry shop to buy. Thanks. After getting her gender found out, Russell had become rather submissive. Her face reddened as she took the pendant. What thanks? I should be the one saying that. Ho-ho. With the gender reveal, it was confirmed that my body, which had always gotten excited by Russell, was not perverted after all. Maybe she'll give me a peck tonight, too? We were even sharing a room. Since our relationship was one where we had already gone as far as kissing, the healthy imaginations of a young man were simmering within me. I passed the day. Thank you so much, Kyer. HM, you passed your flight test. Yeah, it's all thanks to you. That's good. Yeah. The inside of the room suddenly got awkward. You, Russell, who was looking down at her pendant, and I, who was looking at the ceiling, addressed each other simultaneously. Go ahead, she said. No, you go ahead first. I wanted to ask, is it okay for you to be learning magic at the same time? A magic swordsman is a dangerous choice. Magic? It's okay for me. My teacher is a pretty amazing guy. Teacher? Yeah, I've got one. He's a person named Bumdaff who called quite the shots in our neighborhood. Shots. Well, it's not shots, but more like talking the big talk. The big talk? What? These words would have been understood on Earth, but Russell was completely confused. He's an Archmage who researches the limits of magic. An Archmage? But was there one named Bumdaff? There's no one like that among the famous people in the continent. He was an eccentric gangster who could even make a crying child hiccup to a stop. Bumdaff is the golden-eyed reaper, Adel. I absolutely could not reveal that person's true name. He is a person who is researching knowledge and concealment for the sake of the world, for freedom and truth. Such an amazing person. If he's an Archmage, he should want to let his name be heard all around the world. But to think he can resist that temptation. Resist my ass. My God, this is so frustrating. Unable to reveal that the bumdaff who was my teacher was actually the eccentric gangster Adel, my heart squirmed with discomfort. How could I say that far from resisting, he had tyrannized the whole world and was chased off in the end to a different dimension? Moreover, I could never reveal that he was an evil-hearted soul who had tricked the naive me and punted me into this dimension in his stead. That's right. He's a real, amazing person, I gritted out. Right, Russell. Sit down. Oh, what? At my words, Russell stammered and tensed up. Oh, she's such a cutie. If she grew out her hair and put on a dress, Russell would be a beauty without equal. Even now, her current tidy appearance with short hair was still filled with an androgynistic charm. You don't trust me? No, I do. Era, you shouldn't trust anyone besides your daddy. Even I knew you should only trust yourself. But the naive Russell trusted me entirely and carefully sat down on her bed. Why is my heart trembling like this? Just looking at the quiet breathing of her small frame from behind her back made my body heat up. I reached out and put my hands on her shoulders, feeling her flinch. Stay still and feel it within your body. Why does it sound so suggestive? Even I felt embarrassed to say such shameful words. I grasped Russell's shoulders. I need to expand the upper Dangian. Russell had good spiritual affinity, but not enough mana. I want to give her a small present. Try using your mana breathing technique. Don't make any sounds. Just follow what I do. Okay. Having just come out of shower, Russell's skin was incomparably damp with moisture. I steadied myself and drew on my mana. Then I slowly began to push mana in through her shoulders according to the magic knowledge stored in my head. I will help you, Russell, so you can have your revenge. Russell's mana fused with mine and circulated around her body. Then, under my careful guidance, the mana core in the upper Dangian enlarged. As I helped her, my actions were filled with my warm feelings towards Russell, towards this girl in front of me. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. There's a report that a messenger arrived early in the morning from the Imperial family. A messenger? Derval passed along the big news as soon as I arrived at the hangar. Normally, messengers come on horses, but today, a Sky Knight came by specially. Might it have something to do with me? Most likely. I believe it is an order regarding you and Babetto, Sir Kyre. Already, Babetto, who is evaluated as a cursed wyvern, is treated the same way as a demon beast in the covert. Moreover, this is the residence of black wyverns, symbolizing the Imperial family. Sky Knights are sure to show their opposition, so they will want to deal with the matter quickly. Derval said words similar to what Marquis Mermoz had said. I barely got any flying lessons, though. Everywhere else is fine. But we must pray for that place to not be chosen. That place, yes, is the covert among all the places in the Empire where one must not go. Wayne Covert of the Nerman Plains. Any place will do besides that one. Wayne Covert. Even as he spoke, Derval's expression was gripped with fear. That place is so awful. Do you really not know? Yeah, no idea. Instead of responding, Derval just shook his head and sighed. The hangar door had been opened wide to let the fresh air in. From beyond the door, I saw 3 people walking towards us. Marquis Mermoz was approaching with 2 of his knights in tow. It seems what is to come has come, said Derval with a tense voice. Welcome in, he called out with a stiff face in greeting towards the 3 people coming in. Truly a desirable fellow, exclaimed Mermoz upon seeing Babetto instead of responding to the greeting. If you desire him, just buy him then. In all truth, this guy's wings were at least a meter longer than other wyverns, and his body was a full leg bigger too. He blinked his huge golden eyes as he watched Marquis Mermoz. Is that the document? I thought, looking at the thick white paper in the Marquis hand. A moment of silence followed the men's entrance. A transfer order for you has arrived, said the Marquis calmly. Baronet Kare da Aderon, His Imperial Majesty the Emperor has passed down a transfer order for you. Listen carefully and receive his grace. All hail! I copied the salute I had seen other people doing all this time and brought my right arm to my heart. On the 328th Imperial year, on the 21st day of the month of Nermis, Baronet Kare da Aderon is ordered to be assigned to Wayne Covert of the Nerman Plains. This command is to be followed before the day of the 21st ends. Wayne Covert. The result that Derval had desperately wanted to avoid was happening. All hail. But what could I do? For now, I could only receive the order. The only place that would accept a cursed wyvern like Babetto was Bajran. Collect your luggage before the sun sets and depart. You will be traveling within the safe area of the Empire, so you need no guard. Ask your crewmate for the other matters. The Marquis turned around, leaving just a few stony-hearted words. There was probably nothing he could do, either, because this was an order coming from the top dog of Bajran, the Emperor. To the front lines? Do they think my head is a tin can? Oi. It was said that even a cow getting dragged to the slaughterhouse understood its fate, but the Marquis was ordering me, a far more intelligent being than a cow, to please go die on my own. I shall heed the order. Despite my inner thoughts, my response was full of strength. I didn't have any lingering attachments to this unlucky place anyway. Russell, Irene, Aegis, Hyneth. Only, it was a damn shame I had to part with all these women that I was just getting close to. Derval, pack your things. It is already done. I don't have anything really to take with me. Damn, why do I feel like a dude getting kicked out of his own home by his wife? Thanks to the events at this covert, my last name was now Aderon of the Baronet rank. I had also acquired a wyvern, but I still had an indescribable, crummy feeling. One day I will return. After I become a hero, I'll receive military honors from you all. The beginning was shoddy, but my life was bound to shine like fireworks by the end. I ground my teeth thinking about the people who were kicking me out like this. The weather is dreadfully good. Fleecy clouds were drifting above, and the mountainside was shimmering with spring haze. It was a perfect day for farewell. Chapter 38. Unidentified Assailants. Translator, Lay. Proofreader, Imagine. Babetto, easy does it. I was a shoddy Sky Knight who didn't have much to call luggage. After putting the two-seater saddle on Babetto, Derval and I left Kerphone Covert. Russell, why'd you have to cry? She must have heard the news, because Russell had been crying her eyes out until they were all swollen up in the dorm room. When I opened the door and went in, she tackled me and wailed, blubbering sorry and thank you. She said her goodbyes to me with a big hug. I'll be back soon. Don't fool around and live well. After leaving the room, after saying farewell to Russell like that, Hyneth was suddenly there. Then she said the following. Or a bunny, I will come find you soon. Please be careful around water, dogs, orcs with bad eyesight, and especially pretty girls. She wasn't even my mother, but Hyneth listed off all the things I should watch out for. I could almost see lasers shooting out of her eyes when she said the last one in particular. Countess Irene, thank you. Fluttering behind me in the wind wasn't the black cloak for Sky Knight cadet knights, but the crimson one for formal Sky Knights. After I finished my farewells at the dorms, I went to Babetto's hangar. There, Irene and Rothalo were waiting for me. Without a word, Irene took the crimson cloak from her own back, as well as her black scarf, and put them on me. Sir Rothalo, I'll probably buy you a beer sometime. Rothalo had also given me something, a black wyvern banner that symbolized the Empire. It was decent enough to hang the banner onto Babetto's ass as his panties. I wasn't wearing airplate mail, and Babetto wasn't wearing wyvern defense mail, but we still looked pretty legit. Admiral Yi Sun-sin also won in a battle against hundreds of Japanese ships with just 13 of his own. Ah, Kang Hyuk, you may be flying miserably in the sky today, but soon your great fame will fly far and wide over this continent. Grasping the four reins with one hand and bravely facing the wind, I made a vow to the red setting sun. Kyrnim, I'm cold and hungry. I passionately made a man's oath, but behind me came poor Derval's wailing. Damn it, reality was cruel. We flew off after acting cool and bidding adieu to Countess Irene and the covert. But the cold reality was that Derval and I had been turned into poor, homeless people without home or hearth. The other nobles will be alarmed when they see Babetto, right? Babetto would surely invite not just shock, but contempt. I heard that if you formally receive an appointment like this and went on a flight, every territory lord would offer their hospitality. However, Babetto and I would not be welcomed. Since that was the case, I didn't want to mooch like a beggar. Derval, for us, there's no such thing as a comfortable rest. Even at this very moment, it is like a real battle situation. It is wilderness survival training. Rather than an energetic, yes, sir, I only got silence from Derval in return. I would do the same in his place. After all, we were heading to Wayne Covert, also known as the grave of Sky Knights and Wyverns. What could I say? It was Derval's fault for meeting the wrong master. We're almost there. After flying for about an hour, a place called Mt. Rocco came into view. It was located several hours on horseback from the capital. In the middle of the all-important Great Plains that provided food for the capital was the slightly protruding Mt. Rocco. That was the place I had arranged with those guys. I directed Babetto, who had already learned how to use the shifting air currents, to the ground. Babetto stopped flapping, holding his huge black and golden striped 15-plus meter wings outstretched. Very cool. The Callian continent was unpolluted. Under the pink and mandarin orange glow of the setting sun, the golden stripes on Babetto's black wings fluttered in the sky like the Emperor's golden cloak. As we neared the ground, Babetto began to flap and decrease his speed. There they are. A few carriages were sitting at the capital-facing entrance of Mt. Rocco. We approached the carriage with the red cover, which I had specified so I could find them later. 10 people. They're all strong. There were 10 people from the black merchant group waiting for me at the carriage. Since I didn't know when I would get kicked out, I had instructed them to wait here the day right after making the deal. Who are they? Asked Derval, sticking out his head. They're friends. For now. In life, what was an enemy or a friend? If they were helpful to me, then they were friends, and if they weren't helpful, they were enemies. It was that simple. As Babetto's hefty body hit the ground with a thump, the black merchants flinched in surprise. No matter how strong they were, a fully grown wyvern was an existence to fear. Era? That woman is here too. It was the black cat who would be able to star in a porn film had she been given a whip. She was watching us while making a sensuous pose on top of the carriage. I unclasped the safety loop and lightly landed on the ground. The goods. Oh, you're quite impatient. She's charming but fierce. The black cat possessed quite the provocative appearance, but her fierceness was really not my type. This kind of fierceness was definitely different from firm courageousness, like what Countess Irene possessed. I'm busy. Are you really? There shouldn't be any reason for a person heading to the plains of death to be busy, though. Ho ho ho. This cat, clothed in black leather armor, was an expert at baring her claws when needed and retracting them fully at will. She let out a crisp laugh as she approached me. Derval, your dinner is over there. It seemed as though they had dined while waiting for us, because there was stew inside an iron pot. There were also a few pieces of bread lying around. Oh, so this is the cursed wyvern said to be bred at Kerfone Covert. The black cat showed an interest in Babetto. Era? This guy. She approached Babetto without a hint of fear and stroked his sturdy leg. But Babetto stayed still without getting tense or enraged and just squinted his eyes as if enjoying the woman's touch. Geez, he knows something beautiful when he sees it. What a shame. He has no defensive armor to protect his big wyvern body. The cat stabbed me where it hurt with her words. Where are the spears? I ignored the cat and approached the carriage. As soon as I did so, mana bloomed from the guys standing around the carriage. These guys didn't know how close they were to stepping to the gates of hell and back. Move aside. This is someone who will become a special customer. The men moved aside at a single word from the cat. She then smiled at me. As a special service, I even brought over the installation tool. You're thankful, yes? The cat's eyes creased into crescents as if awaiting praise. I simply ignored her and removed the red packaging. Be blessed, spears, cried Derval in surprise. I only brought ones made from Bajran's Imperial Magic Tower. They should be quite comfortable to use, the cat explained. You're all dead meat now. I thought towards those cruel bastards who had sent me off into the world without a single weapon. I knew this would happen, so I had invested an insane amount of money. I smoothly lifted the leather weapon container that would be installed next to the saddle. It was filled with blessed spears with the thickness of a closed fist. 20 was a pretty large amount. Geez, why such a hurry? Ho ho. The night is long, and I have information to share too. Ho ho. The cat snorted as she shot an alluring look my way. Older sis, I'm a minor, okay? I couldn't reveal that to this cat-like woman. This older sis didn't seem to know that if she messed with me the wrong way, she would be sent straight to prison due to minor protection laws. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. That bastard left. Yes, your highness. We received a report that he just departed from the covert. The huge room was decorated by a harmonious arrangement of top-grade dwarven-made furniture, painting, sculptures, and other such objects made by the continent's best artists. Bajran Empire's crown prince, Poltvarin, laughed nastily, his teeth showing in his mirth. He will disappear without a sound before he arrives at Wayne Covert, said a man with a cunning voice that matched the crown prince's humor. A nephew of the current queen, he was the crown prince's maternal relative, Viscount Silverin. He was Poltvaren's right hand, a man who knew and aided the crown prince's ambitions. Kill him, strip his skin, and dunk his body into a vat of salt, and kill him ever so slowly and painfully. Cuckoo. As he spoke those vicious words, madness danced in Poltvaren's eyes. As soon as he had returned to the imperial palace, he was summoned and rebuked by his father the emperor, which soured Poltvaren's mood. The reason for the scolding was that he had laid a hand on Princess Aegis in front of many nobles and knights. My imperial father, I will return the favor to you soon. Everything in this empire you love, I will thoroughly crush them as I please. Despite being the crown prince, Poltavran had been raised listening to rebukes that were harsher than those given to anyone else. Inside him raged a twisted hatred towards his father. And for tonight, I have prepared the daughter of the Payan Baron household that you saw at the banquet yesterday. No issues, I trust. Please do not worry. Talks with the Baron have already gone smoothly. Silverin, as expected, you're the only one who truly understands me. It is an honor, Your Highness. Silverin, whose words completely uplifted Poltvaren's mood, bowed low at the crown prince's praise. He knew very well that only flattery could earn the bad-tempered crown prince's favor. In return for such flattery, the day the crown prince became emperor, Silverin would reap a prize that no one could have imagined. The emperor of the great Bajran Empire. Silverin knew very well that by simply being next to such a person, one could grasp military power no less than the emperor's own. Che, dirty and cheap bastards. I cursed the nobles and people who reacted to Babetto. I had expected it, but not to this degree. With the letter of appointment from the covert in hand and the map I had been given, we made our way to Wayne Covert. After passing over mountains and rivers, we began to see castles and villages. I don't know how they knew we were coming, but every time we passed into a territory, we were welcomed by Sky Knights. But the problem was when we drew closer and they saw Babetto's golden stripes, their attitudes changed. Their faces blanched as if seeing some kind of devil, and they fled. If that was how Sky Knights reacted, you could imagine how regular residents treated us. As soon as Babetto appeared, they were frightened out of their wits, and they hurried to ram their heads down while trembling uncontrollably. Kyrnim, the fire is ready, informed Derval, who was completely infected with the fun of camping out. Shall we try eating some fish today? We had set up camp at a large mountainside lake. Whenever the sun set, we would make camp and rest. Go. Babetto must be hungry too, because he let out a low cry. Eat a little less. My back is going to break trying to feed you. This guy would only work if he got a pig-sized portion for each meal. Derval, go over there and collect some more wood. Huh, I understand. I pointed at the forest and shooed Derval off. Oh, fish are my specialty. A week had already passed since leaving Kerfon Covert. Now we just had to cross the Nerman Plains and the Rual Mountains that walled up the empire to reach our destination that I rose from my seat and approached the lakeside, looking at the clear and clean water. From a distance, I had clearly seen fish that looked similar to carp flopping out of the water. Third circle lightning should be enough. A spell was drawn inside my head. I rapidly drew mana and approached the water. Lightning. I cast lightning around 10 feet away from me to where the fish were flopping. A powerful blue flash of magic burst out, outshining the light of the sun. Boom. The spell, bristling with electricity, plunged into the water and spurred a powerful energy wave that spread in all directions. Babetto, let's go hunting. After a short while, fish floated to the surface. Without even thinking about it, I jumped onto Babetto's back. Flap, flap, flap. With powerful strokes of his wings, Babetto jumped off the ground. Oop! The feeling of my body floating up was strangely electrifying. Flap, 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 flap. Babetto beat his wings hard. Thanks to his immense strength, we lifted off the ground within moments. Whoosh! Ah! The fresh air in the sky was completely different. I sucked in a big lungful of air through the helmet. This was the happiest moment during a flight. This was why Sky Knights addicted to the sky said they couldn't live without it. That one looks good. As soon as Babetto appeared, a herd of deer scattered like frightened rabbits. Getch and Babetto. Go. Over the past few days of travel, Babetto and I had grown pretty close. The wyvern dove towards the ground at my command like a nimble eagle. Swoosh! Babetto's enormous frame plunged like a dive bomber. Uewa! I inwardly screamed my heart out at the electrifying thrill that was worlds beyond anything a roller coaster could offer. Gwa-ia! A deafening roar burst out of Babetto at the same time. Hearing Babetto's bloodthirsty roar, the fleeing deer sank to the ground where they stood. Bam! Babetto simply skewered two of them with his sharp, steel claws. Then, as the wind rushed around us, he twisted and rose into the air again. One well-grown wyvern's better than 10 hunting dogs, I mused. I was satisfied with Babetto's hunting skill, which had easily taken care of dinner time. I decided to bring Babetto with me if I ever returned to Earth. HM? Who are those guys? While I was gazing at Babetto with satisfaction, I spotted 3 dots far away, flying towards us from the Empire's direction. Sky Knights. They were clearly regular, gray wyverns. This was still Empire territory, but this place was deep in the Rual Mountains, an uninhabited place often visited by monsters. Those 3 wyverns were flying here, towards me. Just then, lights suddenly flashed in the hands of the Sky Knights riding the 3 wyverns. Flash! A brief burst of light came from the Sky Knights. Blessed spears! Babetto dodge! Flap, 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 flap! Alarmed by the sudden attack, Babetto quickly raised his head and ascended higher. They're following. Blessed spears had an effective range of at least 2 kilometers. One moment, they were sparkling in the distance, and in the next, the spears were following us with a gentle arc. Babetto to the side. Due to the attack, Babetto was instinctively beating his wings as hard as he could. I felt enormous movement with every flap of his wings. Swoosh! As he rose, Babetto twisted to the right. Flash! 3 lines of light grazed past our sides like lightning. You 3 musketeers! Anger filled me from head to toe at the sudden assault. I looked more closely at the 3 wyverns. They're wearing gnome markings. They did have air plates and enspelled wyvern armor, but no markings showing their affiliation. Bandits? I heard that large-scale bandits or pirates sometimes had wyverns too. No, this is still Empire territory. That's impossible. Swoosh! Even while I was thinking, I saw them raising a second round of spears. Distance, 1 kilometer. At this distance, we could be hit with blessed spears in the time it took to blink. Shit, you're all dead today. I took out one of the spears from the container on my right and poured mana into it. Flash! Just then, the 3 fired spears again. Flash! I threw the spear in my hand at the one flying front and center. Oh, so this is how it feels. This was my first time ever firing a spear. After I poured mana into it, the length of the spear glowed with magical light, and when I threw it like that, it pierced through space many times faster than any arrow. Reaching out, I grabbed spears in both hands. Flash! And without a moment of waiting, I fired at the other 2. Swoosh! We can't dodge. Before I knew it, we were around 800 meters away. The spears flashed in their unstoppable approach. If they landed, these scary magic spears would bury themselves deep into Babetto's body. Moreover, Babetto wasn't protected by enspelled armor made of mithril alloy, so he would die immediately due to severe internal wounds. I raised my hand. Right now, speed was of the essence. Spiral Tornado. The top 5th circle wind spell was deployed even without a mana staff. It was a spell I had memorized in preparation for a day like this. Whoosh! A violent spiral of stormy wind burst out in a wild charge towards the spears that were already within 100 meters of us. Babetto, charge! The 3 wyverns were lightly ascending to dodge the spears I had thrown. Believing in my magic, I led Babetto straight ahead. Go! Even knowing his life was in danger, big brave Babetto didn't show any fear. Roaring loudly enough to shake the heavens, he put more strength into his wings. Thankfully, the spears were all flying in from the front and not from all directions. Clashing with the roaring spiral tornado, their trajectories changed and they bounced off into the distance. Summon Shuriel. With a flash, a door opened between the spirit realm and the middle world as a silver wind spirit appeared before me. Rip that shit apart. Shuriel wasn't even a neighborhood mutt, but I commanded the spirit to tear the enemy to pieces. Swing. As soon as I spoke, Shuriel flew at a terrifying speed towards the wyvern at the front that was leisurely avoiding. Ryup. Quaowak. Instead of attacking the body protected by mithril, Shuriel seriously bit and tore the wyvern's sturdy right wing. In response, the wyvern let out an incredibly loud shriek of pain. The Sky Knights were flustered by the sudden appearance of the spirit. Agu WEF. Seeing my faithful spirit taking my command seriously gave me a headache. Everything had happened in an instant. You some kind of bulldog? Why are you biting it like that? I was completely dumbfounded by Shuriel's honest sincerity in faithfully carrying out its master's command. Wind arrow. One of the men fired a spell at Shuriel, who was busy ripping into his allied wyvern's wing. It's a waste to use spears on you bastards. The Sky Knights showed up out of nowhere and tried to kill Bebeto and me. We were already just 100 meters apart. Swish! My right hand went up again. Only then did the Sky Knights see me. They must have thought I would have died from their spears, so when we suddenly appeared right in front of them, their bodies stiffened with shock. Hello! I spear! I spear! I spear! I couldn't waste valuable spears. I consecutively summoned ice spears, a spell among the fourth circle spells guaranteed to hurt quite a lot. You pieces of dog's shit. There weren't even 100 meters between us now. Plus, a wyvern's wings were all too big a target for an ice spear. Fwip, fwip, fwip. The ice spears flew towards the wyvern's wings, hissing in tandem, and the Sky Knights scrambled to raise blessed spears again. Baba bam! It was only fourth circle magic, but the ice spears were made with overflowing fifth circle mana. They plunged right through the thick wyvern wings, leaving behind holes the size of a head. Kwawak, go, Gwawea. The three wyverns shrieked in unison. It's not over yet. You shitty bird brains. These guys dare to try to kill me, the oh-so-kind Kang Hyuk, who was just minding his own business. Fire Lance. Fire Lance. Fire Lance. Thanks to the magic knowledge my capable master had implanted in me, I could double cast like it was nothing. While the wyverns were writhing in pain, I glared at the Sky Knights that were busy keeping balance. Fwip, fwip, fwip. There's a saying like this in the Bible. If anyone slaps you on the left cheek, offer the right also. Cuckoo. This time, hot lances of flame flew towards the uninjured other wings of the wyverns. Bam, bam, bam. Go, quayak, cool. Another wonderful chorus of cries rang out. Wind spear, wind spear, wind spear. I cast magic like I was trying to empty my mana core. These poor bastards. They were unlucky and met their maker today. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. A mage. Baron Halvain, a Sky Knight under the employ of Count Ottman, sortied on a secret missive from his lord to eliminate the hybrid wyvern. From the information he received, the target was a cadet that hadn't even completed his formal education. However, the person in front of him right now wasn't a cadet, but a combat mage accustomed to battle. Bam! Kwa-aya! He viciously threw spell after spell at the wyvern's wings. There were already around 6 big holes in the wings of Halvain's beloved wyvern. He's a sixth circle mage. The enemy mage was firing fourth circle magic, which could deal damage to wyverns. But Baron Halvain, a fourth circle mage, was sure that his opponent was a sixth circle mage. Otherwise, his opponent wouldn't be able to cast fourth circle magic like that. There's even a summoner somewhere. On top of that, the wind spirit Shuriel had suddenly appeared and was ripping into a wyvern's wing like a dog and not letting go. There was definitely a summoner on the ground helping the bastard. Swoosh! No matter how sturdy a wyvern's wings were, it couldn't fly properly with holes all over them. Even a blessed spear wouldn't impart such damage. We have to make an emergency landing. The injuries to the wyvern's wings had exceeded the limit. Just like Baron Halvain, his allies were sweating hard, trying to control their wyverns that were crashing unsteadily to the ground. Ooh-ha-ha-ha-ha-ha! The devil's laughter rang noisily through his helmet. Damn it! Baron Halvain regretted the wrong information and the lazy attack. But no matter how quick one was to regret, it was already too late. Wyverns were like a Sky Knight's life. There had never been a second chance given to a Sky Knight who had lost their wyvern. Bam! Quayak! Magic landed on his wyvern, even though they were only 10 meters from the ground. Baron Halvain felt like his chest was about to burst from hearing the painful cry of his beloved wyvern. This dog's hit. He glared. He glared at the evil, vicious bastard who was leisurely firing magic and enjoying the hunt. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Boom, boom. Their wings sporting at least 10 holes, the wyverns tumbled as they thudded to the ground in emergency landings. Because they landed with wings that couldn't support their enormous weight, they were lucky that they hadn't broken every bone in their legs. Bebeto land. The Sky Knights were sure to have gotten a big shock atop their wyverns, who had landed helter-skelter. I saw them writhing with pain. Swoosh! Go! Thanks to his luck in meeting a capable master, Babetto didn't have a single scratch on him. He savored the leisure of the victor as he made a smooth landing on ground that was just starting to sprout with grass. They don't have Sky Knight cloaks on, and their wyverns don't have any family emblems. Who sent them? In the short time I was there, I had made a lot of enemies at the Sky Knight Academy. I couldn't tell who had ordered something like this. Which one should I ask? Not knowing who wanted to kill me was an insult to my pride as a man. I leapt off Babetto's back and approached the wyverns that were sprawled out near each other. Despite their pain, the wyverns that were watching Babetto and me let out warning growls. Clang! A Sky Knight that found his bearings hurried to draw his sword atop his wyvern. What are you all doing? He's coming, cried the Sky Knight, his voice filled with rage. Arg! Only then did the Sky Knights collect their wits from the shock of the crash landing and jump down from their wyverns, still moaning. Why is that guy still there? One of the Sky Knights that had jumped down was holding a mana staff instead of a sword. Behind those Sky Knights, I could see a silver bird that was still holding on for dear life to one of the wyverns. It was looking at me with shining eyes like a puppy asking for praise. All right, good boy. Good boy. Go back now, Sai. When you summon a spirit, you were mentally connected to it. Because of that, I relayed my praise in my mind and ordered it to go back. Swish, swish. The spirit wagged its tail like a dog at my praise before finally disappearing like a phantom with a flash. Who the fuck are you? Era? Isn't that the wrong way around? That was something I should be asking, but the unidentified Sky Knight stole my line. Then who the fuck are you guys? I asked with an innocent voice after taking off my helmet. The three Sky Knights answered me with silence. Spill the beans while I'm asking nicely. I'm not in a good mood, you know. I put a hand on my waist as I skewered them with a crooked gaze. Why, you impertinent cadet. Cadet? Oh, so they do know me. Looks like words won't cut it, I said, then drew the furry Viscounty Knight's sword, which I was still using. Erg, I'll cut you down. These three were asking for more hot punishment. It seemed they wanted revenge for their prized wyverns. Do as you please, Sir Bandit Knight, I said to these laughable bastards, futile struggling. The two knights who had drawn their swords closed the distance. Binding. As if he'd been waiting, the mage cast binding. Cancel. Binding. No one could match my skill in spell manifestation. Even as the knights charged at me, I forcefully canceled the mage's spell and cast binding right back. Swing. They were both knights, but they didn't hesitate to gang up on me. Their blue, mana-charged aura blades aimed for my heart and lower body. Oomph. However, against me, someone who had competed with a master, their skills were far too lacking. Hiya, I grunted as I kicked off the ground and jumped up. Swing. A knight's sword whistled past my legs in the next moment. The knight's head came into position. Bang. Still aloft, I landed a powerful kick on the knight's helmet with my right foot. Thud. Gasp. The knight I kicked collapsed without even being able to utter a cry. Seeing that, the other knight drew in a gasp of surprise. There was no need for sympathy. I turned and ran at him as he leaned forward. Swing. Still a knight in name, the guy instinctively swung his sword. Clang. I strongly parried away his sword. At the powerful impact, the knight lost his grip on the sword. The moment I saw an opening, I let loose the familiar Taekwondo roundhouse kick. Whoosh. Bam. My foot met his face squarely. The helmet was torn from his head and went tumbling into the distance. Goo. Kwa kwa yakak. The wyverns went mad at the sight of their masters, landing flat on their faces. Babetto, step on him. Goo. Flap, flap, flap. As if he'd been waiting, Babetto flapped his wings eagerly and flew over. The next moment, taunting the wyverns who couldn't fly, he was piercing their bodies and wings with his steel claws without hesitation. Wow, was he a fighting cock in his previous life? Like his master, Babetto appeared to have no sympathy. He excitedly crushed the wyverns to pieces. Ugh. The Sky Knight, who couldn't move a finger due to a binding cast by a higher-level mage, opened his eyes wide and groaned as he watched his wyvern become covered with blood. He should listen with this much, right? Babetto, stop. Goo. Having excitedly vented his stress, Babetto let out happy cries as he returned to the ground. What a heartless fellow. Babetto's triumphant stomping had brought the wyverns halfway to the gates of hell, just like their owners. Their faces and wings dripped with red blood. One of them must have broken its wing, because its head was collapsed on the ground as it drew painful, stuttering breaths. So it's true that even though they're monsters, if they are raised with holy water, their blood becomes red. Cursed by the gods, most monsters had blue blood. But if a wyvern was bathed in holy water while it was still in the egg, their blood would change to red, like humans. Cancel. Why, you vicious bastard. Bam. GQ. He still hadn't come to his senses. I kicked the mage right in the stomach. He was wearing an air plate, but it would be difficult to block a kick with all my strength in it. Moreover, he was a mage. He was even weaker to pain. You guys trying to kill me is right and proper, and me defending myself is vicious? You writing a novel here? If I do it, it's adultery, and if you do it, it's romance. Good gay. I cannot speak. He must be in a hell of a lot of pain, because the mage Sky Knight was kneeling as he laboriously spat out a few words. Is that so? All right then. Boom. Gah. I simply kicked the guy's chin hard. Jerks, you're playing. This was my first battle of the skies ever. Things had ended up like this because they had underestimated me, but it could have easily become a crisis. I have to ascend to the 6th circle. ASAP. Even the Crown Prince had his sights set on me. I could only grow stronger in order to live. But I should collect the prize for those 2 deer and my valuable spears, right? The wyverns and knights were sprawled out here and there as if a typhoon had ripped through the area. Over 10 blessed spears were sitting pretty atop each wyvern's back, and the wyverns themselves were wearing extremely expensive mithril armor. And there were 3 formal air plates that looked like they might be my size. It's money. Sweet, delicious money. Ooh ha 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 ha. A refreshing laugh bubbled up from the deepest part of my chest and burst out of me. Goo. Even the clueless Babetto raised his horns into the sky as he let loose a vigorous cry of joy. Won't I become filthy rich at this rate? An evil thought suddenly jumped into my head. I wondered if I should go around each territory and strip the Sky Knights who came looking for trouble. The seeds of the enemies I had sown in this empire were already sprouting. Anyway, Chapter 39, Wayne Covert. Translator, Lay. Proofreader, Imagine. WH, what is all that? Oh, this? How is it? Can we use it? Babetto and I had returned to the lakeside. Over 1,000 fish were belly up in the water, and Derval was roasting dozens of them on the fire. Seeing the magic armor in Babetto's claws, he stammered in shock. Isn't that mithril magic armor? And 3 of them at that. Seems they're all cooked. The Black Cat had given me a small bag, saying that I would need it. Inside were various seasonings, including salt. Now, eyeing the well-seasoned roasted fish, I grabbed one that was the size of my arm and brought it to my mouth. Kyrnim, W, what is all this? And isn't that a formal air plate you're wearing? A gift from God. Giving a short reply, I took a big bite of the fish. Chew. Oh, delish. The fish was perfectly seasoned with salt and spices. I paid no attention to Derval's alarmed voice and questioning and focused on filling up my belly. Sigh. Derval let out a long sigh. Knowing will give you a headache, dude. There actually wasn't much to say. Those guys simply came and attacked me. I defended myself in order to live. I beat them up good and took something as a reward for my efforts. Kyrnim. Derval quietly called my name. What? I mumbled over a bite of fish. Next time. Derval paused and looked right into my eyes. Strip the wyverns of their hide, too. Those can be sold for quite a lot. Derval had a deeply rooted merchant mentality that far exceeded mine. Derval. Kyrnim. The hot gazes of 2 men met in the air. I'm telling you, I picked a good person. Derval was smart, listened well, and was thoroughly ingrained with the prevention is better than the cure mentality, as well as being industrious and thrifty. I really liked him. Gru. Let's not forget Babetto, the new up-and-coming gangster star in the wyvern world, who was excitedly scooping up the belly-up fish without being told to do so. I was suddenly struck with a premonition full of hope, a premonition that the 3 of us would turn this continent upside down. Those days would probably be full of suffering for others, but happiness for us. It was a future I hoped for with all my heart. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. We have to fly half a day without resting to get through, huh? Even if he flew leisurely, Babetto had a speed of over 60 kilometers per hour. We had to fly at that speed for at least half a day to be able to pass the rugged Royal Mountains. Hundreds of nameless peaks were topped with white snow, and underneath those peaks was a dense forest that blanketed the ground as far as I could see. The sight inspired an automatic sense of awe within me. So these mountains are encircling the Nerman Plains like a folding screen. The Nerman Plains was about the size of a respectable duchy. Though it was technically Budran Empire territory, apparently, Even the Empire saw it as a pain-in-the-ass lump of land. Without a wyvern, regular infantrymen had to walk at least half a month through the rugged mountains to reach the plains. In addition, the territory bordered the hostile Lavater Empire, pirates as vicious as a pack of dogs from the Kesmire Islands, an archipelago made up of around 10,000 islands. Often came plunder, and to top it off, barbarian tribes called the Tamir came attacking in a roundhouse robin. Also, the countless monsters and demon beasts living in the Rual Mountains and the Kovala Mountains showed up on the territory as well. So the Nurman Plains was a place of endless battles all year round. At one point, over 200,000 Empire troops were dispatched to the plains, but tens of thousands of them had died every year. So now, only a few important positions were defended and only 20,000 soldiers were stationed there. Even though it's the size of a duchy, it doesn't have an assigned lord. Instead, the commander-in-chief acts as the lord. The Nurman Plain somehow gave me a good feeling as soon as I heard the name. It was apparently a land of blessings where several rivers, starting high in the mountains, ran through the plains. Derval told me that besides the enemies coming in from all directions, it was an ideal place. Kyrnim, we're almost there. We just have to pass that mountain, and it'll be the Nurman Plains. With only a magic compass and a single scrap of map in hand, Derval managed to find the way on his own. His voice was thick with emotion. Swoosh! After continuous flights, Babetto had completely figured out the wind and could play in the currents. Hitching a ride on an updraft, we passed the final peak. If I have time later, I should build a ski resort here. From what I heard, this place was decked in snow all year round. I felt like I could build a ski resort here, just as good as the ones in the Swiss mountains. Whoosh! An updraft hit us as we flew over the peak. Wind blowing in from the other direction was pushed into the air as it collided with the mountain. Despite his huge size, Babetto was kicked upwards like a paper airplane. Babetto leveled out again, and then I saw it. It was endless. All the pointy mountains were gone, and from the sky, I could see endless plains stretching out into the horizon, divided by several rivers. The knot in my chest fell away, and my eyes were refreshed. It was truly a sight for sore eyes. Kia, so nice. This place where orcs are running free and ogres are waving. What the fuck? As the mountains disappeared and the plains appeared, Babetto flew low to the ground. From his back, I could see a very peaceful scene. Dozens of orcs wielding weapons were running across the plains like horses, and ogres with wooden clubs were grunting as they played a harmonious round of hide-and-seek. Gay, that's all monsters. It wasn't just one or two. Everywhere on the expansive plains, instead of humans, there were orcs and ogres hunting fish, trolls, and a variety of monsters and animals I didn't even know the names of. My God, it was a complete mess, and then some. After flying a bit over the plains, I spotted a fortress in ruins and several villages. Of course, they too were occupied by monsters instead of people. Goo! Only Babetto was thoroughly excited. As someone who was at the top of the monster food chain, he bellowed in happiness as he flew low over the monsters' heads. Squeal! Squeal! Chaos ensued. As soon as Babetto appeared, the monster groups that had been playing peacefully scattered like rabbits facing a fox. And even though they were monsters, not birds, some of them even slammed their heads in the ground and trembled. Seriously, how many monsters are there? Thousands of Imperial soldiers had died here every year. Seeing this, it made sense. Anyone who hoped for a long, peaceful life surrounded by not just this swarm of monsters, but also pirates, troops from an enemy empire, and barbarian tribes was a crazy bastard. This place, which was too valuable to give away but too difficult to make use of, must taste like a dry steam bun without any red bean paste. What a shame. If not for the monsters, even I could tell that the soil was unbelievably fertile. There were only a few small hills, but for the most part, it was a blessed land perfect for farming. I couldn't help but feel regret as I gazed upon the endless plains. It might be a different story if I were the Lord, but for now, this place had absolutely nothing to do with me. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Kyrnim, that must be the central city, Denfers. It looks more like a ruin than a city. After passing the mountains and flying for 2 hours, we finally arrived at the central city of the Nurman Plains, Denfers. I could see the sea in the distance. The city was positioned along a river somewhat bigger than Han River in Korea. It was fairly wide while also being accompanied by high castle walls that encircled the city. But the problem was that it was just too embarrassing to call it a city. Parts of the wall were collapsed and sloppily blocked with wood and what looked to be gravel, and many places in the city itself were falling apart, dirty, and worn down. It was quite a pathetic sight. Wayne Covert. I could see wyvern hangars and a runway at one side of the city. It was definitely Wayne Covert, the place I would be living in from now on. Sigh. Despite Babetto's appearance, the soldiers and residents weren't at all alarmed. They just looked up once, then stopped caring, despite the fact they should have seen Babetto's hybrid wyvern golden stripes. Babetto, let's land. This city, Denfers, was just 20 kilometers away from a swarm of monsters. It wouldn't be strange if those monsters came charging in this very night. Flap, 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 flape. Babetto flew a circle around the covert before landing in the central clearing of the runway. Hush! The dust and dry grass on the uncleaned runway was blown up by Babetto's wing beats and flew all over the place. Wow, amazing. Sarcasm flowed from Dervil's lips. What kind of covert is this? Despite its notoriety, Wayne Covert was still a place where Sky Knights of the highest honor in the Empire were residing. Up until now, I'd harbored some expectations in my heart. The glorious Sky Knights, who guarded the interior of the Empire from the front lines. It sounded really cool. But the reality in front of my eyes was, even a dog wouldn't stay here. Who knew when they had last been maintained? The worn-down hangars were full of holes, and the runway and the surrounding area was overgrown with weeds. A few crewmates were slowly slinking around and looking at us. Military discipline? Rules? What were those? There was nothing of that sort. Instead, the place was filled with limp laziness. The thought that running away and resorting to banditry would still be better than this grazed past my mind. Derval, this is Wayne Covert, right? Yes. Kyrnim. But how come no one is on guard against strangers like us? I wonder. It was impossible to compare Wayne Covert with Kerphone Covert. The few garrison members and crewmates showed a little interest towards us, people who had fallen into unfortunate straits, but no one took any action. Kai-ho! Gwa-wah. What the fuck is that sound? I didn't see a single wyvern at the hangars, which numbered about 30. Just then, I heard a mana-charged cry of excitement and a wyvern's roar from far away. Gay! Turning my head, I couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. T-Troll? And aren't those ogres? 3 wyverns with Sky Knights on their backs were flying towards the base. But the problem was they didn't carry any flags signifying that they were part of the Empire, and in the claws of the wyverns flying over was a limp troll and 2 ogres. Janice Nim is here. Oh, they've even caught a troll today. Ruimble. I didn't know where they'd been hiding, but people wearing merchant uniforms and dozens of mages came running in from all directions, the carriages behind them clattering. Escorted by people who looked like mercenaries, a crowd gathered in moments. What the heck, what is this mood? Wayne Covert suddenly became as disorderly as a flea market. Flap, 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 flap. The wyverns landing on the ground whipped wind and dust into my face with their wing beats. Well then, let us begin today's auction. Auction? Woman. A woman stood up confidently atop her wyvern and yelled out to the crowd. She was wearing the crimson cloak of the Sky Knights on top of a silver airplate. Holy! The female Sky Knight removed her helmet as if finding it stifling. As she did so, brown hair that didn't go past her shoulders fluttered down. She's really no less than a man. The Sky Knight in her mid-20s had even more androgynistic charm than Russell, a girl disguised as a man. Her body let off a constant vigor that was no inferior to a man's. The troll is, as you can see, so fresh that one can draw top-quality blood from it for a month, and the ogre's hides are damaged but still usable. We'll start with the troll, so everyone, name your price. Janice Nim, I will buy it for 1,700 gold. 1,800. I'll buy it for 1,850. As soon as the woman named Janice finished talking, the merchants and mages immediately started clamoring, calling out prices. 1,850. Nothing above that. Going once. Going twice. All right. Sold for 1,850. Next are the ogres. 500 gold per ogre. 530. 550. All right. 550. Nothing more. Sold for 550. Today's auction is over. Darn it, what a shame. I only happened to bring 1,800 with me today. Che, let's just wait and see tomorrow. When mages come from their towers, we don't have much of a chance. The merchants showed their regret as they looked at the mages who had bought the 3 monsters. Do you happen to be the master of that handsome wyvern? Why, yes. One of the merchants who had ignored us the whole time licked his lips while looking at Babetto. Then are you selling those goods as well? Voot? He can't mean Babetto. The merchant was pointing toward my wyvern. Gay, isn't that wyvern magic armor? Wow, a jackpot item has finally appeared today. Are you selling that? Noticing my conversation with the merchant, other merchants and mages came scrambling over. They began to drool over the 2 suits of wyvern magic armor tied up nice and pretty on Babetto's back. This wyvern is one of those special hybrids, isn't it? Indeed, is a hybrid of black and gold. The dozens of merchants and mages that gathered from the surroundings were fascinated by Babetto. I'll give you 500,000 gold. Sell the magic armor to our magic tower. 750,000. Please sell it to our merchant group. 850,000. Please sell us even just one of those magic armor. Why are these people like this? And who are they taking for a fool? The mages and merchants were getting worked up all on their own and calling out prices. They were busy trying to get a deal on armor that was secondhand, but would still easily go for 1.5 million. Stop. I won't be selling these today. I yell with mana. In a few days, I will sell to the one who states the most appropriate price. So back off for now. Ho-ho-ho. What should I call this feeling? This feeling of happiness could probably compare to how Columbus felt when he discovered a new continent. From the looks of it, it seemed that when Sky Knights caught monsters, merchants and mages would buy them. So what you're saying is, if I just go catch those monsters laying everywhere, everything's Gucci. I had seen tens of thousands of monsters just coming here. I suddenly began to think of those unpleasant monsters as lucky coins. All right, this kind of place suits me. I hadn't figured out everything yet, but I got the gist of what was going on. For someone like me, whose honor as a Sky Knight was dragged through the dirt, an opportunity as good as this would be impossible to find. Who are you? Pushing aside the merchants and mages, a woman walked towards me. Height 175 centimeters, 5 feet 9 inches. Slightly tanned, healthy skin. The large eyes that suited her long eyelashes were charming. My eyes met her glistening green ones in the air. Oh, I won't be bored in the future. With one hand on her hip, Janice cocked an eye at me with a provocative look. I could see my reflection in her narrowed eyes, my reflection as I smiled like a devil. Are you Baronet Kyer? Yes, that is correct, Leader Pavis. At least there's someone here who looks like a noble. Viscount Pavis had introduced himself as the leader of Wayne Covert. Unlike the other Sky Knights, who were no different than mercenaries, Viscount Pavis was showing the typical nobleman's appearance, with his big belly and tidy uniform. I won't say much. Wayne Covert is part of the Empire, but at the same time, it exists separately from the Empire's military. Pavis said rebellious words without hesitation as he drank his tea with noble-like decorum. The Empire sends us no goods or wages. The hell. They don't send anything. Live on your own. Earn on your own. Keck, live on my own and earn on my own. Take one of the empty hangars if there's one that catches your fancy. And when there's a military request for assistance, go out if the price is right. Then is there anything that is provided by the Empire? What is your full name and title? Pardon? It is Baronet Kyer de Aderon. Got it. That's all. A title recognized by the Empire. That's the only thing. It's a total Wild West over here, every man for himself. I now completely understood why Sky Knights were hunting monsters. Wayne Covert was not provided a single thing. In other words, be it weapons or armor, everything had to be acquired with one's own money. All right, this is actually better. This place valued true skill above all else. It might be different for other nobles who value their honor the most, but this place suited me perfectly. But do you also not receive anything from the Empire, sir? Me? Ahem. I get exactly enough to survive. You mind your business, and I'll mind mine. Good. From tomorrow on, I'm going to earn and save. Well, haha. Leader Pavis told me to mind my own business. I intended to do just that. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Kyrnim. I think we need to hire a separate guard, sir. Why? There are many eyes on us from every direction. I have to hire a fucking guard with my own money, too? I headed to the hangars with Babetto and Derval, who had been waiting for me outside the headquarters building. As we walked, Derval kept his guard up, looking warily all around us. This was a world for the capable, just like in the mercenary world. Derval didn't need to say anything. My sensitive mana alerted me of a few people's too interested gazes. Derval, did you know that this place doesn't get anything from the Empire? Yes, Sci. That's why this place is called the Grave of Sky Knights. It is a place used to banish Sky Knights who have offended the imperial family or high-ranking nobles, even if they didn't commit treason, and to get rid of wyverns that have grown too old to be useful. That is the kind of place Wayne Covert is. That place looks good, I said, changing the subject abruptly. Pardon? This is where we'll be staying from now on. You like it, right? Yes. Very much so, sir. As long as it came from me, Derval would at least pretend to die if I commanded it. He responded energetically. Oh, so even soldiers have to be given money to make them work. Interestingly enough, you could see soldiers slinking around the hangars instead of patrolling the entire covert. Merchants, mages, and even civilians were coming in and out of this place, a military facility. What a mess. I strode towards the buildings that looked like hangars. Wait, then do I even have to get a cook? If Leader Pavis' words were to be believed, not a single thing would be provided to us. Wow, these dirty, cheap-ass Scrooges. I ground my teeth at the disgusting behavior of the Empire and stood in front of the hangar that I had picked. It gets lots of sun, and there's space in front, and it's far away from the others. This hangar was at the edge of the hangars. It seemed pretty old, but at least it looked decent from the outside. We should clean it up first. It had obviously been neglected for a long time. Derval, go ask around and find out what things we need to know to survive here. But we need to clean up first. I'll do it. Go prepare dinner if you can as well. Understood. There's no rush, so do your research slowly and precisely. As you command. Babetto, you stay here and keep a lookout. Go. Babetto, who understood words well, nodded. I will return soon, said Derval, preparing to leave. Ah, take this too. Fwip. I threw him a pouch with gold coins. Then, holding the hefty pouch, Derval bowed and quickly walked away. He was a smart fellow who could understand what I wanted, so I didn't have many worries. Creak. The structure of the hangar was pretty much the same. It had a large, wyvern-sized door and a smaller side door for humans. I opened the side door and went in. Even a ghost wouldn't live here. The inside of the hangar was filled with Spider-Man's siblings. Despite there being nothing to eat, spiderwebs were hanging everywhere, while encrusted dust and dirt adorned the walls and floor. Sylph, Undine, Gnome, Salamander, all of you come out. Flash. I summoned all of the lower-ranking spirits. Swoosh. Jesus, you guys are cute. Sylph was as large as a kid's arm, and Undine was a blue water silhouette smaller than a kindergartner. Gnome looked like one of the 7 dwarfs, and Salamander was the size of my arm. After being summoned, they circled around me, their eyes sparkling with innocence. We'll be cleaning from now on. Sylph, raise the wind with all your power and sweep up all the dust. Salamander, use your flame to burn up the dust and spiderwebs. Undine, cleanly wash away all the burned stuff. Gnome, once everything is cleaned with water, turn the ground and bury everything. Chop chop. Nod. Sylph went round and round with a happy expression, and the blue, watery Undine sprayed out water. With a whoosh of fire, the magical fire-spitting lizard, Salamander, impatiently unfurled its flames towards the spiderwebs. Shield. Ho-ho-ho. How can it be this comfortable? I blocked the dust with a circular magic shield. Then I sat back and enjoyed the emotional sight of the spirits working hard. Swoosh. Fush. Fup. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Like I instructed, Sylph raised a wind to gather all the dust and trash to one side, which was burned up by Salamander, and Undine used water to clean the ashes on the ground and the dust encrusted on the walls. Finally, Gnome upturned the ground and cleaned up all the ashes gathered on the ground. Within a short time, the inside of the hangar was sparkling clean. Clap, clap, clap. Haha, you did well, my friends. I did feel a sense of guilt for making miners clean without pay, but whatever. This was a summoner's privilege, after all. I'll buy you guys some candy later. I had the feeling I had become one of those immoral teachers who sat back and made the tiny kids in elementary school do the dirty work of cleaning. The playful Sylph showed its joy at my praise as it flew circles around me. Salamander, Undine, and Gnome also exuded happiness, like little kids. Then, see you later. Bye-bye. Waving my hand, I returned the spirits. Flash. As if they'd never been there, the spirits disappeared, leaving no traces. I then thought to myself that I should play with them a bit next time if I had the time. Clear. Flash. The spirits had done their best to clean, but there was no way they could erase the dirt motes left in the air. I used magic to cleanse the whole area. Sparkle, sparkle. A perfect hangar was left. The completely clean space, without a speck of dust, made me happy. I opened the door to let Babetto in, the large door groaning as it swung. Babetto, come in. Huh. Gwa. Stomp, stomp. Just as I was about to let Babetto in, after cleaning up everything, I saw Babetto looking over to one side while roaring in rage. Derval? But what's with those guys? Derval had gone out under my instruction. 3 unfamiliar knights wearing plate mail and around 10 soldiers that looked like gangsters were following him back. Did he get hit? As I got closer, I could see that one of Derval's eyes was black and blue, and there was blood coming out from his upper lip. I was sure that these guys had beaten up Derval, who couldn't defend himself properly because he was missing an arm. They approached with very relaxed expressions and impudent smiles. Oi, kiddo, you this bastard's boss. A knight with a scar that looked like a big worm above his left eyebrow looked at me and called me a kiddo. Derval. I apologize, Kyrnim. These bastards arg. A muffled sound rang out as one of the soldiers whacked Derval's side hard with the handle of his spear. Ugh, looks like this shithead hasn't gotten hit enough. How dare he call us bastards? Wearing a malicious smile, the soldier taunted Derval with his spear. You think the covert is a den of orcs? Shouldn't you come report if you've arrived? Cuckoo. The scarred knight made a slimy smile. Tried to use a building in the covert without even reporting to Lookensnim? You've lost all sense of fear, haven't you? He continued provocatively. Arg. At the same time, the soldier continued to jeer as he beat Derval. Move one more time, and you'll die. Something hot blazed within my chest. Cuckoo. The soldier responded with a wicked laugh. Pow! Gap! Due to the pain from getting hit just now, Derval was protecting his side with his one and only right arm. The soldier smashed Derval's hand with his steel spear. Flash! My body bounced forward like a spring, and I drew my sword swiftly with the hiss of steel. Be block it, shouted the knights, alarmed. Whoosh! The blade was filled with blue light. CLA clang. Splurt! Cutting down the soldier's spear, my sword buried itself hilt deep into the soldier's waist. Juh! A groan flowed from the soldier on the other end of my sword. His filthy smile gone. The soldier's horrified eyes trembled with pain. Trash like you guys don't need to live. I whispered quiet words into his ear. Swip! I pulled the sword. An artery must have been severed because red blood gushed out like a river. "K, kill him!" screamed the evil knight. The soldier's spears came whistling towards me. Meeting my aura-imbued blow, the spears were cut like butter. Pop, pop, pow! My sword, drunk on the taste of blood, moved on its own and danced. Kai! Ah! The soldiers screamed. As their arms and legs were cut off, they screamed. Pieces of trash. Up until now, I had avoided excessive violence, much less murder. But these guys, these dirty fuckers, managed to set me off. These people, who messed with the powerless Derval, did not deserve to live. No, even if they did live, they would live no better than trash. I was determined to be their judge today. Die! The 3 knights came charging in. I tightened the grip on my sword. I had crossed the Rubicon. The red blood dizzied me. The fishy smell of iron was thick in my nose, and a sticky feeling of rage and bloodthirst oozed all over my body. I bit my lip. Then, I swung my sword with all my might towards the swords of the knights running in. Chapter 40, Viscount Lookens. Translator, Lay. Proofreader, Imagine. Arg. A gasp of pain escaped from the knight, whose legs were both cut deeply despite his armor. Bang! He simply sank to the ground. Ha-ha. He looked at me, eyes filled with horror, pain, and fear. Derval, let's go. Yes. K. Kyrnim. Derval limped along despite having his whole body covered in bruises. So, I should clean up starting from there. Leader Pavis words to survive on my own world in my ears, as well as words that while this was a part of the Empire doesn't care what goes on here. A land of anarchy. That description seemed to suit this place very well. Damn it. My whole body was drenched with blood from the completely unexpected battle. One part of my chest felt all blocked up. The fight had been so vivid that I couldn't think of it as a dream. I was finally able to experience the cold reality of this continent, the reality of having to raise your sword and fight in order to survive. If you touch me, I will return the favor. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. I supported Derval and returned to the hangar. The very first day at the Wayne Covert kicked off with a battle of life and death. It occurred to me that this kind of thing would happen frequently from now on. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Crackle. After returning to the hangar, a group of people appeared, grabbed the collapsed soldiers and knights, then fled. As night fell, I gathered sticks and made a fire. A glass of alcohol would be nice. Even if I wasn't a murderer, the fact that I'd sliced over 10 people's bodies with my sword alone was a shock. I'm so sorry, Kyrnim. Once again, because of me, Durval made an apologetic expression. Durval, you are my comrade. Kyrnim, haha, but what to do? At this rate, we'll starve tonight, won't we? We had skipped lunch due to wanting to arrive at Wayne Covert as soon as possible, but now it looked like we would be missing dinner too. I will go get something. It's fine. You want to hit the bucket for good? Despite being called a covert, this place was almost indistinguishable from the mercenary world. Is the guy named Lookins the big shot here? One of the knights that fell to my sword had mentioned someone named Lookins. His followers had suffered, but up until now, there was no movement from him. Thump, thump. Have they come to end this? I thought, hearing calm footsteps coming our way. Despite being a covert, Wayne Covert didn't have any magic lamps to speak of. 3 figures approached us from within the darkness. Janice. One of the people approaching was the woman Janice, whom I had met in the daytime. You're a fellow with big guts. To think you're calmly sitting by a fire after punishing Viscount Lookins' kids like that. Speaking like a man, Janice's slender body moved to stand in front of me. Haha, this friend, you're quite something to start such a huge mishap on your first day. I really didn't expect you to make mincemeat of those knights and soldiers of Lookins, who is called the Invisible Lord of Denfurs. I knew there was something about you, but your skills are pretty good. For what the guys told me, you sent them flying with just 1 swing each. The Sky Knights next to Janice added some words of their own. Did you bring that alcohol to share? Of course. It's a small sign of my sincerity towards the hero who made Lookins unable to sleep well tonight. We've got snacks here, too. You're the first likable fellow to have arrived in a while, so we had to come and welcome you. Janice was holding a bottle of alcohol that was longer than a regular bottle. She spoke eloquently as she plopped down next to me. The male comrades next to her also hurried to sit down. This alpoju, also called the sun's tears, goes hand in hand with oily roast kilo. Food was piled up on a large leaf. Isn't that eel? On the leaf was a roasted fish that looked just like saltwater eel, glistening with oil. Pop. Alrighty. Today's hero, drink up. Janice pulled out the cork and passed over the bottle. My mood was in the shitter, so I took the bottle without hesitation. It's subtle. This alcohol had a grandiose name of Sun's Tears. The smell, at least, wasn't that strong. Over here, we determine how much of a man you are from how much Sun's Tears you can drink in one go. Looking down on me. I was someone who had frequently snuck sips of the liquor in my father's cabinet, but these knights looked down on me and said something that hurt my pride. I raised the bottle, and then I opened my mouth wide and poured in the alcohol. Fwoosh! The moment the alcohol hit, my mouth lost all sensation. I could only feel the drops of alcohol going down my throat. Even as I held the bottle, tears came dripping out of my eyes. Gah! I wasn't even a dragon, but it felt like flames were spewing out of my mouth. The spot where the alcohol had gone down was burning as if I had swallowed lava. Mommy! Kulaha. Oh my god, my stomach. Kulaha. Completely insensitive to my pain, which felt like I'd swallowed magma. The Sky Knights clutched their bellies and roared with laughter. WWATR. I tore the bottle from my mouth and desperately looked for water. Eat this. Roast kilo will soothe the heat. Janice passed over a piece of the fish. I immediately shoved it into my mouth and chewed. WEF. Surprisingly, as soon as the roast kilo went into my mouth, the flaming heat completely vanished. These fuckers. They planned to mess with me from the beginning. I was also at fault for falling for their words, but these two set me up even though they knew how intense this alcohol was. Horsehead and Humpty Dumpty, I'll remember you too. Sometimes my heart was generous, but at times like this, it was incredibly petty. I stored the two guys' faces deep into my memory as people I had to get back at. Glug glug. Oi oi. I drank from that just now, having taken the bottle from me. Janice's throat moved as she glugged down the incredibly potent alpoju. I indirect kiss. My saliva was still on that bottle. Janice put it to her mouth without a care and vigorously drank up. Kaya. Pulling back, Janice's brows furrowed a bit. She enjoyed the potency without even eating any roast kilo. "So what will you do now?" asked Janice, looking straight into my eyes. "What do you mean?" "Oh, you've messed with Viscount Lookins, so it'll be awfully hard to sleep from now on." "Doesn't matter, because I'll trample down everyone who comes." "On your own?" queried Janice, her eyes wide at my brazen response. "I've always liked playing alone." "Is that so?" "Hoo-hoo. I'll be watching to see just how long you can live with that confidence. And if it's difficult, just tell me. If you become my underling, I'll protect you." Was that her goal? I didn't know how things were here. Some kind of heavy feeling passed through my thoughts. That aside, let me ask a question. How come this Viscount named Lookins is persecuting a Baronet Sky Knight like me in Budran Empire territory without any fear? Baronet? Cuckoo, you're making me laugh. You think someone without any strength can discuss titles here? You don't even know this? That here, on the Nerman Plains, a monster hunter is acknowledged more than a powerless noble title? Horsehead turned me into a laughing stock in mere moments. Titles are important here, because you can formally gather soldiers under your command. But if a noble without money or power continues going around like they're the top dog, they'll disappear without a trace. It's not uncommon for them to turn into monster food or fish food the next day. Added Humpty Dumpty next to Horsehead. It's a lawless land. A knife fight had ensued in broad daylight in the covert. There was nothing more for me to say. Here, only those with power could live with pride. Lookins is a noble of the Viscount rank who has 12 Sky Knights under him. And he's a very greedy thief who wants to swallow these Nerman Plains whole. An utterly dirty bastard who has sold his soul to the demons. He will definitely kill you. Sipping the alcohol, Janice uttered some cold words. I could feel deep rage and anger within her words. It was intense enough to make the hair on my back stand up. Oh, what a fun place. Very fun. I didn't know the details yet, but the Nerman Plains was getting more and more interesting. I raised my head and looked into the sky. The big, bright moon was surrounded by countless stars. Tonight as well, that sky was stupidly bright. Completely untouched by the dirty greed and pain and the ass worries of humans, the sky alone shone with beauty. As I looked up at it, I felt a cold joy. Oop! The sword formed in my mind became a shadow and sharply cut the air. Shwayai. I was practicing the shadow sword art demonstrated by Count Petrin. Perhaps because of the limitations of my mana, I couldn't form 5 shadows like I wanted, but 3. The 3 shadow swords danced in accordance with my will. Any more than this is impossible. This was the technique that had even defeated the Crown Prince's Guard Knight, but I wasn't satisfied. My skills were only SOSO, but my enemies were unlimited. Wind boom, ba-bababam. I cast a 4-circle wind spell that had a short activation delay. The power of the compressed wind dealt a hefty blow to my imaginary enemy. Finish it. Flyish. My sword followed on the heels of Wind Boom and cut through space. Swish. The enemy in my imagination broke into pieces. Phew. I had been training for 2 hours inside of the worn-down hangar right next to the hangar where Babetto and Derval were resting. Taking a break, I drew in a long breath. I've memorized and done imaginary duels every day without rest, but my skills haven't grown. Because of the Sky Knight training and the gazes of others, there weren't many chances to physically take my sword and train. But I had closed my eyes and carried out countless imaginary battles. It was also due to the fruits of this training that I was able to save my life, as well as Babetto's when I had competed against the Crown Prince with our honor on the line. However, I could not break the wall of enlightenment with imaginary battles alone. Will my sword skills only rise if I break the circle wall? Breaking the circle wall and ascending to the next level had also come with a boost in my aura quantity and my understanding of the sword. Surprisingly, magic and sword skills didn't increase separately, but together. Lookins. As we drank the alcohol Janice had brought, we shared stories until the fire ran out. There, I came to learn about Lookins, who was called the invisible ruler of the Nerman Plains. Many years ago, the Nerman Plains were just like other territories of the Empire. Actually, it was even more important. Not only did the territory share a border with the belligerent Lavater Empire, with just one mountain range in between, but it was also the Empire's only access to the sea. Therefore, it received the Imperial family's full backing. However, after years of continuous attacks from monsters and pirates, the southward migration of the Tamir tribes, and skirmishes with the Lavater Empire, the territories will to defend disappeared. A decisive factor was that the rugged Rual Mountains made it difficult to transport reinforcements and supplies. As time went on like that, and thousands of dispatched soldiers perished every year, the imperial family and the nobles lost their will to protect the territory. Even though the Nurman Plains was a large territory almost the size of a duchy, the nobles assigned to it would run away after just 1 or 2 months of suffering. So now, it didn't have a single hereditary lord left. He was a normal Sky Knight serving the imperial family before. Around 15 years ago, Viscount Lukens, a Sky Knight within the imperial military, volunteered to come here. Taking advantage of the imperial family and nobles' indifference, he rallied Sky Knights and built his influence in these Nurman Plains. In particular, Lukens' power exceeded the level of the commander-in-chief, a count, when the Empire stopped giving general support for Sky Knights 10 years ago, and the number of the imperial troops had dwindled to several tens of thousands. It was impossible even for tens of thousands of military troops to block the monsters coming in from all directions, the pirates who even had wyverns, and the southward migration of the Tamir tribes. For that, the strength of Sky Knights with wyverns was necessary. Before long, Lukens had the commander-in-chief dancing in his palm. As a result, every time a Sky Knight sortied for a request for assistance from the military troops, they would receive a certain amount of money and do the work like a mercenary. So this is what they meant by surviving on your own. The way you were supposed to survive in the Nurman Plains was as simple as I guessed. The one and only gift from the Empire to me was my noble peerage. What I had to do was to use that peerage to nurture soldiers, protect myself with my own power, and increase my influence. From what I heard, the Empire would soon give up on the Nurman Plains. The taxes couldn't even cover the wages of the remaining soldiers, and the enemies appeared without end. The Emperor and high-ranking nobles had apparently decided that it would be better to use the Rual Mountains instead of the Nurman Plains as a shield to maintain the current Empire's territory. There are lots of various rare monsters and magic ingredients. So many magic towers and merchant groups are here. At the same time, it's a lawless land where one's life can't be guaranteed. You could film a Western here, seriously. This place reminded me of a Western called A Fistful of Dollars, a film where a man fought gangs with a single pistol. It was no longer just a film, but my current reality. But what beef does Janice have with Lukens to want to kill him that badly? If I were her, I would just cooperate nicely and live a comfortable life. Janice held an intense grudge against Viscount Lukens. Fortunately for me, she had promised to temporarily lend me a handful of her soldiers from tomorrow onwards. She wasn't quite as strong as Viscount Lukens, but she definitely possessed quite a lot of her own power. Starting from tomorrow, I should gather information and find out about work we can do. I was someone who was chased out of the Empire. The duty of a knight could kiss my ass. That could wait until after I secure my survival. What a shame. If Wayne Covert's facilities were expanded, it could house thousands of its own soldiers. Before landing, I had seen that Wayne Covert was actually quite large. It had a separate area for regular residences, and though the outer walls weren't as good as the castle walls, they were still rather stable. After drinking until late into the night, I had shaken off my sleepiness and applied myself to training. Gathering my scattered thoughts, I opened the door of the empty hangar and went out. The moment I did so, I saw a single ray of dawnbreak. Starting from the east, the sun slowly began to greet the world, displaying its intense power after cowering all night long. A shimmering light began to silently edge its way into the black sky, illuminated by pale starlight. And then, the sun appeared with radiant dignity, like a triumphant general appearing with an escort of soldiers several thousand strong. My breath caught in my throat as I gazed upon the glorious sunlight. My first morning on the Nurman Plains. As I watched the rising sun, I released my bated breath and took in a lungful of air, filling my chest with fresh oxygen and hopeful dreams. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. What a mess. Not long after the sun rose, the 20 or so soldiers Janice had promised came to the hangar. They were equipped with half-mail, spears, swords, and shields. There was even a commanding knight. Actually, there wasn't anything for them to guard, but the problem was Derval. It would be problematic for him to go hunting with Babetto and me, and there were several parts of the hangar that needed repairing too. So I left that to Derval and went on an early flight with Babetto. I wanted to at least scout the area around Denfers and take care of Babetto's meal. The villages near the beach have been almost burned to the ground. Flying past the old but fairly large port that was part of Denfers, We moved south along the shore. Near the city, there were still quite a few houses, and I could even see a few people. However, after flying Bebeto for less than 30 minutes, my brows furrowed. After a certain point, all I could see were ruined villages, castles, and forts. I didn't see swarms of monsters, but there were only a few villages left along the shore. To think that there's not even 200,000 people on such a huge piece of land. At one point, because of a forced immigration policy, there had been over 1 million residents here. But because they were either killed by continued enemy harassment or they fled, there were maybe 200,000 people at best. Go, a pack of orcs. Not just animals, but monsters were also an important source of food for wyverns. I saw a group of orcs wielding crude blades and spears crossing the plains. The hungry Bebeto must have lost his wits upon seeing them, because he showed his happiness with a roar. While I was looking at Bebeto, who clearly wanted to shove a few orcs down his gullet, something caught my eye. I assent that a village. It was a village quite a distance apart from the last populated village I had seen. The village, which was protected by rather thick ramparts, was made up of around 100 houses. But the problem was, those guys are in a damn hurry to swallow each and every one of those people whole. Hundreds of what appeared to be the villagers were holding weapons and glued to the ramparts. Ramparts that various kinds of monsters, including orcs, were charging in from all directions to break. Well over 1,000 monsters were attacking the village as a swarm. Bebeto, let's go. Monsters that looked like big ogres were smashing the ramparts with their fists. The villagers were doing their best to shoot arrows and jab their spears, but from what I could see, it wasn't enough. What they needed now was overwhelming strength that could repulse the monsters. It was one thing if I hadn't seen them, but I couldn't just fly past. Ogres, you're dead. Fighting was one thing, but yesterday, Janice had shown me the monster auction. Kaching. I immediately began calculating the 5 ogres attacking the ramparts into gold coins. Your lives end today. Repeat after me. I'm dead meat. Wah wah. Swoosh. Understanding my intent, Bebeto plunged like a hawk chasing a rabbit. The sound of his cry and the roaring wind rang in my helmet. Thousands of gazes turned to look at me and Bebeto as we suddenly appeared. The defending humans and the attacking monsters all stopped what they were doing. Ooh-ha-ha-ha-ha. Kyrnim, King of the Skies, is coming. Make way. This was a feeling only the powerful could enjoy. Flash. The blessed spear I had grabbed with my right hand, before I even realized it, began to glow with a blue light. This was the moment the new ruler of the Nerman Plains, Baronet Kyrda Aderon, made his dazzling entrance.